They say some men are born into darkness. Others have it thrust upon them. Leon Romano was the latter. And this is the story of how one woman's light nearly destroyed him. Or perhaps, saved him. Before we begin, I need you to ask yourself a question. What would you do if the person you loved most in this world was the child of your greatest enemy? Would you choose vengeance? Or would you choose love? Keep that question in mind, because by the end of this story, you'll understand why the answer is never as simple as it seems. This is a tale of blood and redemption, of hatred and healing, of a man who built an empire on revenge, only to watch it crumble at the feet of the one woman he could never afford to love. So settle in. Turn off your distractions, because what you're about to hear will take you into the darkest corners of the human heart, and maybe, just maybe, show you the light that exists even there. Leon Romano wasn't always a monster. Once, a long time ago, he was just a boy with a father who worked honest hours at the docks, a mother who sang Italian lullabies while cooking Sunday dinner, an older sister named Sophia who taught him to dance in their tiny kitchen, laughing as he stepped on her toes. They weren't rich, but they were happy, and in their neighborhood, that was worth more than gold. Leon was 12 when everything changed. It was a cold November night, the kind where fog rolls in from the harbor and settles over the city like a burial shroud. His father, Marco Romano, had witnessed something he shouldn't have. A transaction. A murder. The kind of thing that happened in the shadows of the waterfront, where the Moretti crime family ruled with an iron fist. Marco Romano made a choice that night. He went to the police. He thought he was doing the right thing. He thought the law would protect him. He was wrong. Vincent Moretti was the underboss of the most powerful crime family on the East Coast. He was calculating, patient, and absolutely merciless when crossed. When he learned that Marco Romano had spoken to the authorities, he didn't just want him dead. He wanted to send a message. They came for the family on a Sunday. Leon was at a friend's house, just 2 blocks away, close enough that when he started walking home and saw the smoke, he began to run, close enough that he heard the screams before the flames silenced them forever. By the time Leon reached his home, it was an inferno. Neighbors stood in the street, helpless, watching it burn. No one would tell him what happened. No one would look him in the eye. But he knew. He knew because he saw the black sedan parked at the end of the street. He knew because he recognized the man leaning against it, smoking a cigarette with casual indifference. Vincent Moretti. Watching. Making sure his message was received. Their eyes met for just a moment. Vincent's lips curved into something that might have been a smile. Then he got into his car and drove away. Leon tried to run into the house. Strong hands held him back. He screamed until his voice was raw. He fought until he collapsed. And when the flames finally died down and the firefighters recovered what was left, Leon Romano buried his family in 3 closed caskets. He was 12 years old. And in that moment, something inside him died alongside them. The boy who danced in the kitchen was gone. In his place stood someone colder. Someone harder. Someone who understood that in this world, monsters don't get punished. They get powerful. And Leon Romano decided he would become the most powerful monster of all. It was supposed to be a simple reconnaissance mission. Vincent Moretti's legitimate businesses served as fronts for his criminal empire. One of them was an art gallery in the heart of the city, a place where the wealthy elite mingled with the criminal underworld, neither fully aware of the other's presence. The gallery was hosting a charity gala, a perfect opportunity for Leon to observe his enemy's operations, identify key players, and perhaps find weaknesses to exploit. He wore an expensive tailored suit. His dark hair was perfectly styled. To the other guests, he was simply another wealthy businessman, anonymous in his elegance. That's how Leon preferred it. Invisible until the moment he chose to strike. The gallery was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over marble floors. Waiters glided through the crowd with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. Classical music provided an elegant soundtrack to conversations about art, charity, and the carefully concealed business of crime. Leon positioned himself near the bar, observing. He noted Moretti's lieutenants scattered throughout the room. Security that looked like guests but whose eyes were too watchful. The patterns of power hidden beneath a veneer of culture. And then he saw her. She was standing in front of a painting, completely absorbed in it. While everyone else at the gala seemed to be there to be seen, she appeared to be there to actually see. Her dark hair fell in soft waves past her shoulders. She wore a simple but elegant cream-colored dress that somehow made her stand out precisely because she wasn't trying to. But it was her face that stopped Leon mid-observation. There was something luminous about her. An openness. A warmth. In a room full of people wearing masks of wealth and sophistication, she seemed almost painfully genuine. He found himself walking toward her before he'd consciously made the decision. As he approached, she turned suddenly, startled, and bumped directly into him. The champagne flute in her hand tilted, spilling its contents down the front of his expensive suit jacket. Oh my God! Her hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide with genuine horror. I am so sorry. I wasn't looking where I was going. I was just so absorbed in the painting, and I didn't hear you, and now your beautiful suit is ruined, and... It's fine, Leon said, surprised to find he meant it. Most people who recognized him, even partially, responded with fear. Those who didn't know him were usually self-absorbed enough to make excuses rather than genuine apologies. But this woman looked at him with such sincere distress, as if she'd committed a cardinal sin rather than a minor accident. It's not fine. Champagne will stain, and that's clearly an expensive suit, and she was already pulling out her phone. Please, let me pay for the dry cleaning. Or replacement. Whatever you need. Really, Leon said, and felt his lips curve into something he barely recognized anymore, a genuine smile. It's just a suit. I have others. She studied him for a moment, her brown eyes searching his face as if trying to determine if he was being sincere or simply polite. Whatever she saw there must have reassured her, because she relaxed slightly, though her cheeks were still flushed with embarrassment. I'm Isabella, she said, extending her hand. Isabella Moretti. The world stopped. Leon knew he should have researched Vincent's family more thoroughly. He knew Moretti had a daughter, but she'd been away at boarding school, then college abroad. The intelligence reports had been vague, outdated. He'd assumed she was irrelevant to his plans. He'd been wrong. Standing in front of him, offering a handshake with complete innocence, was the daughter of his greatest enemy, the child of the man who'd murdered his family, one of the last remaining pieces of Vincent Moretti's personal life. And she was beautiful. Leon's mind raced through possibilities. This could be the perfect opportunity. Get close to her. Use her to destroy her father from within. The ultimate revenge, delivered by turning Vincent's own daughter against him. He took her hand. It was soft, warm. Leon, he said, choosing to use his real name in a moment of impulse he didn't fully understand. Leon Romano. If the name meant anything to her, she didn't show it. Why would she? She'd been a child when his family died. Protected. Kept away from the bloody realities of her father's business. It's nice to meet you, Leon. Though I wish it had been under less damp circumstances. She smiled, and it was like watching sunrise after a long night. Were you interested in the painting? Leon glanced at the artwork she'd been studying. It was a landscape, rolling hills touched by golden light, a small house in the distance. Peaceful. Ordinary. Everything his life wasn't. I'm not much of an art enthusiast, he admitted. Neither am I, really, Isabella confessed, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. I'm supposed to be. My father is one of the gallery's primary benefactors. But honestly, most of this stuff just looks like expensive confusion to me. She gestured around at the abstract pieces adorning the walls. But this one. She turned back to the landscape. This one makes me feel something. Like peace is actually possible, you know? Like somewhere out there, life is simple and good. Leon looked at her, this young woman who believed in peace and goodness despite being raised in a world built on violence and corruption. Either she was incredibly naive, or Vincent had somehow managed to shield her from the truth of what he was. Do you believe in that? Leon asked, genuinely curious. In simple, good lives. Isabella turned to him, and her expression became more thoughtful, more serious. I believe in trying, she said. The world is complicated and often cruel. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't reach for something better, does it? It was such a simple statement. Such an innocent worldview. And it made something inside Leon's chest tighten in a way he didn't recognize and didn't want to examine. No, he said quietly. I suppose it doesn't. They talked for another hour. Leon told himself he was gathering intelligence, getting close to her as part of his plan. But the truth was, he was simply talking to her. Listening to her views on art, on life, on her dreams of working with a charity organization to help at-risk youth. She asked him questions too. What did he do? Investments and acquisitions, he said vaguely. Did he enjoy it? Sometimes, he lied. What did he do for fun? He realized he didn't have an answer. You should do something that makes you happy, Isabella said with that earnest intensity that seemed to characterize everything about her. Life's too short to spend it only working. Leon thought about his mother, his father, his sister. Lives cut short in flames. Yes, he said. It is. When the gala ended and guests began filtering out into the cool night air, Leon found himself reluctant to let Isabella disappear back into whatever protected world Vincent had constructed for her. Could I see you again? The words came out before he could stop them. Isabella's face lit up. I'd like that. They exchanged numbers. Leon told himself it was strategic. All part of the plan. But as he watched her get into a car, waving goodbye with that warm smile, he felt something he hadn't experienced in 15 years. Hope. And it terrified him. The affair began simply enough. Coffee meetings that turned into long walks through the city. Dinners at quiet restaurants where they could talk for hours. For Isabella, it was the beginning of a romance. For Leon, it was supposed to be reconnaissance. But somewhere along the way, the lines began to blur. Isabella was unlike anyone Leon had ever known. She had been raised in wealth, yes, but it hadn't spoiled her. She volunteered at a youth center in one of the rougher neighborhoods. She genuinely cared about helping people who'd been forgotten by society. I know I'm privileged, she told him one evening as they walked along the waterfront. I know my father's money has given me opportunities others don't have. But that means I have a responsibility, doesn't it? To do something good with it. Leon thought about his own childhood in these same neighborhoods. The poverty, the desperation, the way the strong preyed on the weak while people like Vincent Moretti profited from it all. Your father, Leon said carefully, testing the waters. What does he think about your charity work? Isabella's expression clouded slightly. He tolerates it, as long as it doesn't interfere with family obligations. She paused, choosing her words. My father is complicated. He can be generous and kind to me, but I know he's not always kind to others. His business dealings. She trailed off, clearly uncomfortable. What about his business dealings? Leon pressed gently. I don't know exactly, Isabella admitted. He's always kept me separate from that part of his life. But I'm not naive. I know the gallery, the restaurants, the construction company. They're all legitimate on the surface. But there are phone calls he takes in private. Meetings with men who look like they've done terrible things. And sometimes... She stopped walking, turning to face the dark water. Sometimes I see a coldness in his eyes that frightens me. Leon felt a surge of something dark and satisfied. She was beginning to see the truth. This could work perfectly. He could guide her toward understanding exactly what her father was, turn her against Vincent, use her testimony to bring down the empire. But then Isabella turned to him, and her eyes were glistening with unshed tears. "Does that make me a bad daughter?" she asked quietly. "Being afraid of my own father? Suspecting he's done terrible things but not having the courage to confront him about it?" And in that moment, Leon saw not a tool for revenge, but a young woman trapped between love and truth. He saw someone trying to reconcile the father who'd raised her with the monster she was beginning to suspect he might be. He saw himself at 12 years old, loving a family he couldn't save. "No," Leon said, and meant it. "It makes you human." Isabella stepped closer to him. "You make me feel safe," she said. "Like I can say these things out loud and you won't judge me for them. Like you understand complicated feelings about family." Leon did understand. Perhaps more than she could imagine. But the understanding came from being on the opposite side of her situation. He knew what it was like to lose family to violence. She was beginning to understand what it was like to fear that your family was the source of violence. They were mirror images, separated by tragedy and blood. That night, when Leon kissed her for the first time, he told himself it was still part of the plan. That getting her to trust him completely, to perhaps even fall in love with him, would make the eventual betrayal of her father easier to orchestrate. But when Isabella kissed him back, soft and tentative and full of hope, Leon felt something crack in the fortress he'd built around his heart. The next 3 months were the strangest of Leon's life. By day, he was still the wolf. Cold, calculating, ruthless. He continued to dismantle Moretti operations piece by piece. A gambling den raided here. A drug shipment intercepted there. He was careful to never leave traces that pointed directly to him, but the message was clear. Someone was coming for Vincent Moretti's empire. Vincent's lieutenants began to suspect there was a traitor in their ranks. They turned on each other, which was exactly what Leon wanted. A house divided cannot stand. He watched with satisfaction as paranoia ate away at the organization from within. But then he would meet Isabella for dinner, and she would smile at him with such genuine joy that the satisfaction turned to ashes in his mouth. She was falling in love with him. He could see it in the way her eyes lit up when he entered a room, in the way she unconsciously moved closer to him when they sat together, in the way she shared her dreams with him, dreams of a future that somehow included him in it. And despite every wall he'd built, every vow he'd made, Leon was falling in love with her too. It started small. The way she laughed at his dry humor. The way she challenged his cynical worldview without being naive about reality. The way she saw good in people even when they'd given her every reason not to. One evening, she took him to the youth center where she volunteered. Teenagers from broken homes, some of them already caught up in the same criminal world Leon ruled from the shadows. Isabella worked with them on art projects, giving them an outlet for their anger and pain. Leon watched her interact with a 17-year-old boy who reminded him painfully of himself at that age. All rage and hurt, lashing out at a world that had failed him. Isabella didn't coddle the boy, but she didn't condemn him either. She just listened. And somehow, her listening made the boy's walls come down. "That's Marco," Isabella told Leon afterward. "His father was killed in gang violence last year. His mother works 3 jobs just to keep them housed. He's so angry at everything, but underneath that anger, he's just scared and hurt." Leon thought about that boy's father, thought about the gang violence that had claimed him. Statistically, it was likely connected to one of the crime families fighting for territory, possibly even Leon's own organization. Had he killed that boy's father? Maybe not directly, but through orders given, territories claimed, violence perpetrated in the name of building his empire? "Why do you do this?" Leon asked Isabella as they left the center. "Because someone has to," she said simply. "These kids, they're told they're worthless. They're told they'll never be anything but criminals or victims. Someone has to show them that's not true, that they have value, that they can choose a different path. And you think art projects will save them from the streets?" Leon couldn't keep the skepticism out of his voice. Isabella stopped walking and turned to him. "No," she said. "I think showing up for them will. I think letting them know that someone sees them, that someone cares, that someone believes they're worth more than the violence around them, that's what might save them. The art is just an excuse to be present in their lives." Leon looked at this woman who had every reason to live in a bubble of privilege, but chose instead to wade into the darkness and try to light candles. And he realized something that made his chest tight with emotions he couldn't name. Isabella was what his mother would have wanted him to become. Someone who used their strength to protect the weak, not exploit them. Someone who broke cycles of violence instead of perpetuating them. But he'd chosen a different path. A path built on the very violence Isabella was trying to help these kids escape. That night, Leon sat alone in his penthouse overlooking the city. Below him, lights twinkled in the darkness. Behind each light, a life. Some innocent, some guilty, most somewhere in between. For 15 years, Leon had seen the city as a battlefield. Territory to be claimed, enemies to be destroyed, power to be seized. But Isabella saw it differently. She saw people worth saving. His phone buzzed. A message from Marcus, his second-in-command, Moretti's warehouse on the south side. Thursday night. Big shipment coming in. Perfect opportunity. Leon stared at the message. This was exactly the kind of opening he'd been waiting for. If he hit that shipment, it would cost Vincent millions and further destabilize his operations. It was another step toward the ultimate goal, complete destruction of everything Vincent Moretti had built. But Leon's finger hovered over the screen, unable to type a response. Another message came through, this one from Isabella. "Thank you for coming with me tonight. It means so much that you care about the things I care about. You're different from anyone I've ever known. You see the world clearly, but you haven't let it make you cruel. I think that's rare. I think you're rare." Leon read her message 3 times. She thought he wasn't cruel. She thought he saw the world clearly but hadn't been corrupted by it. She had no idea that he was the corruption. That while she was trying to save kids like Marco from gang violence, Leon was the one orchestrating much of that violence. That while she believed in his goodness, he was systematically destroying her father's empire as a prelude to destroying her father himself. She had no idea that he was using her. That every moment they spent together, every confidence she shared, every dream she confided, he was storing it away as potential ammunition. Except somewhere along the way, he'd stopped thinking of it as ammunition. Somewhere along the way, her dreams had become precious to him. Her trust had become something he wanted to deserve rather than exploit. Somewhere along the way, Leon Romano had made the mistake he'd sworn never to make. He'd fallen in love. And love, he was beginning to understand, was far more dangerous than any enemy he'd ever faced. It couldn't last. Deep down, Leon knew it couldn't last. But humans are remarkably skilled at lying to themselves, especially when the truth would destroy everything they've come to want. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday evening in late spring. Leon had taken Isabella to dinner at an upscale Italian restaurant. The kind of place where the wine was older than most of the patrons and the food was art on a plate. They were celebrating, though Isabella didn't know what. What they were actually celebrating was Leon's successful sabotage of Vincent's drug distribution network. 3 key players arrested, millions in products seized, and the rats were beginning to abandon the sinking ship. Vincent's empire was crumbling, piece by piece. But to Isabella, they were just celebrating being together. Her happiness was infectious, and Leon found himself caught up in it despite the darkness of its true cause. That's when Vincent Moretti walked into the restaurant. He was flanked by 2 bodyguards, dressed in an expensive suit that couldn't quite hide the predator underneath. Vincent was in his 50s now, his hair grey at the temples, but his eyes were as cold and calculating as they'd been that November night 15 years ago. Leon saw him immediately. Every muscle in his body tensed, years of instinct preparing for confrontation. But Isabella's back was to the door. She didn't notice her father's arrival until he was standing at their table. "Isabella." She turned, and Leon watched her face transform. The joy drained away, replaced by something complicated. Love, wariness, duty, and fear all mixed together in her expression. "Father," she said, standing to embrace him, "I didn't know you'd be here tonight." Clearly. Vincent's eyes moved to Leon, and in that moment, Leon saw recognition flicker across the older man's face. Vincent Moretti knew exactly who he was. Of course he did. Vincent hadn't survived decades in the criminal underworld by being careless. He would have investigated any man showing interest in his daughter. He would have discovered that Leon Romano, the mysterious investor, was also the wolf who'd been systematically dismantling his empire. But Vincent's face revealed nothing except polite interest. "And who is your dinner companion?" "This is Leon Romano," Isabella said, her voice carrying a hint of nervousness. She knew her father was protective. She had no idea how much danger this moment represented. "Leon, this is my father, Vincent Moretti." Leon stood and extended his hand, knowing this was a test. Two predators meeting over the innocent prey between them, each calculating how to protect their interests without revealing their true nature. Vincent's handshake was firm, just a fraction too tight to be friendly. "Romano," he said, as if tasting the name. "I've heard that name recently. You're in investments, I believe." "That's right." "Interesting timing," Vincent said, his voice pleasant but his eyes ice-cold. "I've been having some difficulties with my portfolio lately. Assets underperforming, key investments falling through. Almost as if someone were working against my interests." Isabella looked between them, sensing the tension but not understanding its source. "Father, please. We're just having dinner." Vincent's expression softened slightly as he looked at his daughter. "Of course. Forgive me for interrupting." He turned back to Leon, and the warmth vanished instantly. "Perhaps we could speak sometime, Mr. Romano. I'm always interested in meeting new players in the local business community. I'm sure we have much to discuss." It was a threat wrapped in a polite suggestion. Vincent was telling Leon he knew exactly who he was and what he was doing. And he was inviting him to a confrontation. "I'd welcome the opportunity," Leon said, matching Vincent's false courtesy with his own. Vincent nodded, kissed his daughter on the cheek, and moved to his own table across the restaurant. But Leon could feel the man's eyes on them for the rest of the evening, watchful and calculating. Isabella was quiet on the drive home. Leon could sense her working through something, trying to understand the undercurrent she'd felt but couldn't quite identify. "My father liked you," she said finally, though she didn't sound convinced. "Did he?" "I think so. Usually when I introduce him to people, he's more overtly suspicious. That was almost polite." "Almost," Leon agreed. Isabella turned to look at him. "Leon, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." Leon's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Of course." "What exactly do you do? In your business, I mean. You've always been vague about the details." Here it was. The moment Leon had known would come eventually. He could lie, keep the deception going a while longer. Or he could tell a truth that would destroy everything between them. "I acquire assets," he said carefully. "Sometimes that means buying struggling businesses and restructuring them. Sometimes it means identifying weaknesses in established operations and exploiting them." "Do you ever hurt people? In the course of your business?" Leon thought about the men he'd ordered killed. The families destroyed by the violence his empire perpetrated. The drugs that flowed through his territories, destroying lives and communities. The protection rackets that bled small businesses dry. "Yes," he said, choosing a truth that wasn't quite complete. "In business, there are always winners and losers. The losers get hurt." Isabella was quiet for a long moment. "My father hurts people too," she said softly. "I've always known it, even when I tried not to. The signs are all there if you're willing to see them. The fear in people's eyes when they talk to him. The way problems disappear. The money that doesn't quite make sense. She turned to face Leon fully. I've spent my whole life trying to believe he was just a successful businessman. Tough, yes. Ruthless maybe, but legal. But I'm not a child anymore. I can't keep pretending I don't see what's right in front of me. Isabella. Are you like him? She asked, and there were tears in her eyes now. Is that why he looked at you that way? Did he see himself in you? Leon pulled the car over, unable to drive and face this moment simultaneously. He turned to her, and for the first time since they'd met, he let her see something real in his eyes. Something dark and broken and true. Your father, Leon said slowly, is a criminal. He's built an empire on drugs, violence, and fear. He's destroyed lives, torn apart families, and done it all with a smile on his face and clean hands. So yes, Isabella, in many ways, I am like him. Isabella's breath caught. Hearing it said out loud, having the truth confirmed, it was clearly different than suspecting. Why are you telling me this? Because you asked for the truth. And because you deserve to know who you're with. Who I'm with, Isabella repeated, and there was a note of something like hysteria in her voice. I'm with a criminal. A man who does the same things my father does. That's who I've fallen in love with. Yes. Isabella laughed, but it was a broken sound. My whole life, I've tried to be different from my father. To be good. To help people instead of hurting them. And I fell in love with someone just like him. I'm not just like him, Leon said, and he reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. I don't have a daughter I care about more than my empire. I don't have a family worth protecting. All I have is revenge. Revenge for what? And here it was. The moment of absolute truth. Leon could still pull back, could still keep the worst of it hidden. But looking at Isabella's face, tear-streaked and brave and waiting for honesty, he found he couldn't. 15 years ago, Leon said, his voice raw in a way he'd never allowed it to be, your father killed my family. My mother, father, and sister. They burned to death in our home because my father witnessed something he shouldn't have and thought the police could protect us. Isabella went completely still. No, she whispered. He stood outside and watched it burn. I saw him there. He saw me. And he smiled. No, Isabella said again, but with less conviction. I've spent 15 years building power so I could destroy him. Every move I've made, every enemy I've eliminated, every dollar I've earned, it's all been about getting strong enough to tear down everything he's built. To make him feel the pain he caused me. Isabella was shaking now. And me? She asked. What about me? Was I part of the plan? Get close to the daughter, use her to hurt him. Leon wanted to lie. God, how he wanted to lie. But he'd started telling the truth, and he found he couldn't stop. Yes, he said. At first, you were part of the plan. Isabella jerked her hand away from his. At first. But then I fell in love with you, Leon said desperately. I didn't mean to. I didn't want to. But everything about you, your kindness, your hope, the way you see good in a world that's given you every reason not to, it broke through every defense I'd built. You made me want to be more than the monster I'd become. Want to be, Isabella said bitterly. But you're still going after my father. You're still planning to destroy him. He murdered my family. I know. Isabella was crying openly now. I know, and I can't even defend him because I know he's capable of it. I know what he is. But he's also the man who taught me to ride a bike, who held me when I had nightmares, who paid for my education and told me he was proud of me. He's a monster, Leon, but he's also my father, and I love him even though I shouldn't, and now I love you even though I shouldn't, and I don't know how to reconcile any of this. Leon reached for her again, but she pulled away, opening the car door. Don't, she said. Don't touch me. Don't try to fix this. You've been lying to me since the moment we met. Using me. And even now, knowing that I love you, you're not saying you'll stop. You're not saying you'll choose me over your revenge. Isabella, please. Take me home, she said, her voice breaking. Not my father's house. My apartment. And then leave me alone. I need to think. I need to figure out who I am when everything I thought I knew is a lie. Leon drove her home in silence. When she got out of the car, she paused for just a moment, looking back at him with eyes full of pain and love and betrayal all mixed together. I understand why you want revenge, she said quietly. If someone hurt the people I love like that, I don't know what I'd do. But revenge won't bring them back, Leon. It won't fill the hole in your heart. It'll just make it bigger. Then she walked into her building, and Leon sat in his car, watching the light turn on in her apartment window. He'd told himself for weeks that he could have both. That he could destroy Vincent and somehow keep Isabella. That love and revenge could coexist. But sitting there alone, Leon understood that Isabella had been right. He had to choose. And he had no idea which choice he could live with. The next 3 days were hell. Isabella wouldn't answer Leon's calls. His texts went unread. He stationed himself outside her apartment, but she never emerged. Or if she did, she used a route he didn't know about. Leon threw himself into work, telling himself that her silence made things easier. Without the distraction of their relationship, he could focus on the final phase of his plan. Vincent was vulnerable now, his organization fractured by internal suspicion and external pressure. Marcus came to him with the final piece of the puzzle. We found him, Marcus said, laying photographs on Leon's desk. Vincent's money man. The accountant who knows where all the bodies are buried, metaphorically and literally. He's nervous, ready to flip. One more push and we'll have everything we need to bring down the whole operation. Leon studied the photographs. The accountant, a nervous-looking man named Richard Chen, leaving his apartment, getting coffee, looking over his shoulder like he expected an axe to fall any moment. What's the push? Leon asked. His daughter. She's in college. Vincent's been making noises about ensuring her continued good health as long as Chen stays loyal. But if we can offer protection, witness relocation, a new life for both of them. He'll talk, Leon finished. It was perfect. With Chen's testimony, they could freeze Vincent's assets, expose his operations, ensure he spent the rest of his life in prison. It was everything Leon had worked for. Do it, Leon said. Marcus nodded and left. Leon should have felt satisfied. Instead, he felt empty. That night, Leon's phone finally rang. Isabella's name lit up the screen. He answered before the first ring finished. Isabella. Can you come over? Her voice was hoarse, like she'd been crying. I need to see you. 20 minutes later, Leon stood at Isabella's apartment door. She opened it, and his heart cracked at the sight of her. She looked exhausted, her eyes red-rimmed, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. But she was still the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. Come in, she said. Her apartment was small but cozy. Books everywhere, plants on the windowsills, photographs of her working with the kids at the youth center. It was so completely her that Leon felt like an intruder, tracking darkness into her light-filled space. I've been doing research, Isabella said, not inviting him to sit. About what happened to your family. The fire. I found the news reports, the police investigation. It was ruled arson, but no arrests were ever made. The police were paid off, Leon said, or too scared to pursue it. I believe you, Isabella said, not just because of what you told me, but because it fits. My father's timeline, his rise in power around that time, the way certain people talk about him from that era. He's capable of it. I know he is. She wrapped her arms around herself, and Leon wanted desperately to hold her, but he forced himself to stay still. I also did research on you, she continued. Leon Romano. The wolf. You're not just a criminal, Leon. You're one of the most feared men in the city. People disappear when they cross you. Businesses burn. Families are destroyed. Yes, Leon said, because what else could he say? You've become exactly what you hated. The words hit like a physical blow. I became what I needed to become to survive. To get justice. Justice. Isabella's voice rose. Is that what you call it? You think your mother would call burning down someone's business justice? You think your sister would be proud of the men you've had killed? Don't, Leon said, his voice dangerous. Don't talk about them. Why not? You've used them as justification for 15 years of violence. Don't they deserve to be remembered as more than an excuse for your revenge? Leon's hands clenched into fists. You have no idea what it's like. To lose everything. To be powerless while the people you love die. You're right, Isabella said, and tears were streaming down her face now. I don't know what that's like. But I know what it's like to love someone who's a monster. I've been doing it my whole life with my father. And now I'm doing it with you. Isabella. I love you, she said, the words torn from her like a confession. God help me, I love you. Even knowing what you are, what you've done, what you plan to do. I love you anyway. And I hate myself for it. Leon crossed the space between them before he could stop himself, pulling her into his arms. She struggled for a moment, then collapsed against him, sobbing into his chest. I love you too, Leon whispered into her hair. I never wanted to. I fought it. But you became the only good thing in my life. The only thing that made me feel human again. Isabella pulled back enough to look up at him. Then stop, she said. Walk away from the revenge. Don't destroy my father. Don't become the monster you think you need to be. Choose me. Choose us. Choose to be the man you could be instead of the man you've been. Everything Leon had worked for hung in the balance. 15 years of planning, suffering, building power. His family's memory crying out for justice. The boy he'd been, watching his home burn, demanding vengeance. But then there was Isabella. Light in his darkness. Hope in his cynicism. The possibility of redemption in a life built on revenge. If I walk away, Leon said slowly, your father continues. He continues to hurt people, to destroy families, to build his empire on suffering. He never pays for what he did. The deaths of my family mean nothing. They'll never mean nothing, Isabella said fiercely. They meant everything. They made you who you are. But they wouldn't want you to destroy yourself for them. Love doesn't demand that kind of sacrifice. How do you know what they'd want? Because I know what I'd want, Isabella said. If something happened to me, would you want my death to define your entire life? Would you want the person you love to spend decades consumed by hatred and revenge? Or would you want them to honor your memory by choosing to live, to love, to be happy? Leon had never thought about it that way. He'd been so focused on what was taken from him, on the debt owed, that he'd never considered what his family would actually want for him. Would his mother want him to become a killer? Would his father, who tried to do the right thing even when it cost him everything, want his son to embrace evil? Would Sophia, who'd taught him to dance and laugh, want him to spend his life building an empire of fear? I don't know how to let it go, Leon admitted, and it was the most honest thing he'd said in 15 years. The anger, the need for revenge, it's been my purpose. It's been what keeps me going. Without it, I don't know who I am. Isabella took his face in her hands, forcing him to meet her eyes. Then discover who you are. Build a new purpose. Help me with the youth center. Use your resources to actually help people instead of hurting them. Honor your family by becoming someone they'd be proud of instead of someone they'd grieve for. And your father. My father will face consequences, Isabella said. Maybe not from you. Maybe not tomorrow. But men like him, they always fall eventually. Their empires crumble. Their sins catch up to them. You don't have to be the instrument of that justice. It was tempting. God, it was so tempting. To lay down the burden of revenge. To choose love over hatred. To step into the light Isabella offered. But before Leon could answer, his phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Chen is ready to talk. Meeting set for Friday. This is it, boss. We've got him. Friday. 3 days away. 3 days until Vincent Moretti's entire empire would come crashing down. 3 days until Leon's revenge would be complete. Or 3 days to decide to walk away. Leon looked at Isabella, waiting for his answer, offering him salvation with tears on her face and hope in her eyes. I need time, Leon said. Disappointment flashed across Isabella's face. How much time? 3 days. I have something in motion. Let me think about how to untangle it. It was a lie. Not entirely, but enough of one that Leon felt sick saying it. He wasn't planning to untangle anything. He was buying time to complete the revenge before she could stop him. Isabella studied his face, and Leon wondered if she could see the deception there. But finally, she nodded. 3 days, she agreed. But Leon, if you go through with this, if you destroy my father, you destroy us too. I can't be with someone who chooses revenge over love. I won't. Do you understand? I understand. She walked him to the door. Before he left, she kissed him, soft and sad. I hope you choose right, she whispered. Leon left, and for the next 3 days, he existed in a state of torment. He met with Marcus, confirmed the details of Chen's testimony, arranged for the federal prosecutors to be notified. Everything was in place. Vincent would be arrested on Friday evening. By Saturday morning, it would be all over the news. The great Vincent Moretti, finally brought to justice. But Leon also spent those 3 days remembering. He visited the cemetery where his family was buried. He sat by their graves and tried to imagine what they'd say to him now. His mother's voice, warm and kind. Mio figlio, my son, is this what you've become? His father's voice, firm but gentle. I wanted to do the right thing. I wanted to show you that justice matters more than revenge. Did you learn nothing from my death? Sophia's voice, forever young, forever laughing. Little brother, you are supposed to live for both of us. Not die inside while your heart keeps beating. He went to the youth center and watched from outside as Isabella worked with the kids. Watched Marco, the angry boy with the dead father, slowly open up as Isabella patiently drew him out. Watched her change lives with nothing but presence and compassion. This was the path she offered him. Not revenge, but redemption. Not justice, but mercy. But every time he considered it, he saw the flames, heard the screams, felt the rage of that 12-year-old boy who'd lost everything. Friday came too quickly. At 4 p.m., Leon sat in his office, staring at his phone. One call would set everything in motion. Chen would give his testimony. The federal prosecutors would move. By nightfall, Vincent would be in custody. At 4:15 p.m., his phone rang. Isabella. Have you decided? She asked without preamble. Leon closed his eyes. Yes. And? This was the moment. The choice that would define the rest of his life. Revenge or redemption. Hatred or love. The past or the future. I'm going through with it, Leon said. Silence on the other end of the line. Then, I see. Isabella, you have to understand. No, she interrupted, her voice eerily calm. I don't have to understand. You've made your choice. 15 years of hatred matter more than a future with me. Your dead family matters more than the living woman who loves you. That's not fair. None of this is fair. Isabella's composure cracked. It wasn't fair what happened to your family. It's not fair that my father is a monster. It's not fair that I fell in love with you. But we don't get to choose what's fair, Leon. We only get to choose what we do with the unfairness. I choose justice. You choose revenge, Isabella corrected. There's a difference. Justice would be turning your evidence over to the authorities and letting the legal system handle it. Revenge is orchestrating my father's destruction personally, making sure you're the one who brings him down. You're not interested in justice, Leon. You're interested in the satisfaction of being the instrument of his downfall. She was right. Leon knew she was right. But the need for that satisfaction, the need to be the one who finally made Vincent pay, it was too strong to deny. I'm sorry, Leon said. So am I, Isabella replied. I'm sorry I couldn't save you from yourself. I'm sorry love wasn't enough. And I'm sorry that after today, I never want to see you again. Isabella. But she'd already hung up. Leon sat in the silence of his office, feeling like he'd been hollowed out. He'd won. He was about to achieve everything he'd worked for. So why did it feel like he'd lost something infinitely more valuable? At 6 p.m., his phone buzzed with a message from Marcus. It's done. Chen sang like a canary. Feds are moving now. Moretti will be in custody within the hour. Leon should have felt triumphant. Instead, he felt nothing. At 6:30 p.m., his phone rang again. Unknown number. He answered. Mr. Romano. Vincent Moretti's voice, calm despite everything. I assume you're aware of my current situation. I am. I underestimated you, Vincent said. I thought you were just another young upstart who'd burn bright and flame out. I didn't realize you'd been patient enough to build a real threat. That's on me. This isn't a business call, Leon said. No, it's not, Vincent agreed. It's a father calling about his daughter. Isabella. You love her, don't you? Leon's hand tightened on the phone. That's none of your business. It became my business when you decided to destroy me using information from my accountant while dating my daughter, Vincent said, and there was an edge to his voice now. Did you really think I wouldn't figure out what you were doing? Who you are? Why you wanted revenge? You killed my family. I've killed a lot of families, Mr. Romano. That's the business we are in. You've killed families too, I'm sure. That's what we do. We are predators. We don't apologize for our nature. I don't want your apologies, Leon said coldly. I want you to rot in prison for the rest of your life, knowing that I'm the one who put you there. And you'll get that, Vincent said. My lawyers tell me the case is airtight. I'm done. You've won. He paused. But so am I. What does that mean? It means I've spent the last hour making arrangements. Assets liquidated. Offshore accounts emptied. Every penny I have left is going to make sure certain people know that it was you who betrayed me. That it was you who orchestrated my downfall. Leon felt cold dread settling in his stomach. You're putting a hit out on me. Oh, I'm already in custody. I can't put a hit out on anyone, Vincent said with false innocence. But I can make sure. Leon didn't go home that night. He couldn't. Instead, he drove to Isabella's apartment, parked across the street, and watched her window. She was safe. For now. But Vincent was right. It was only a matter of time before someone came for her. The Russians, the Colombians, any of a dozen criminal organizations that would see her as a way to hurt Leon. His phone buzzed with messages from Marcus, from his lieutenants, from associates congratulating him on Vincent's arrest. They thought he'd won. They had no idea he'd just lost everything that mattered. At 3 a.m., Leon saw movement near Isabella's building. A car, parked too long in a neighborhood where people didn't park. 2 men inside, watching her window. They'd already sent scouts. Leon got out of his car and approached theirs. The men saw him coming and reached for weapons. But Leon was faster. He had one man unconscious and the other pressed against the hood before they could react. Who sent you? Leon demanded. The conscious man, young and terrified, stammered in Russian. Leon repeated the question in Russian, and the man paled further. Volkov, the man gasped. Dmitry Volkov. He said the girl is leverage. He said bring her in, make Romano cooperate. Leon felt rage surge through him. Volkov was Vincent's primary rival in the drug trade. Of course he'd move fast, seeing Leon's organization as ripe for taking. You go back to Volkov, Leon said quietly, and you tell him Leon Romano is leaving the city, giving up his territory. There's nothing to fight over. The girl has nothing to do with this. Leave her alone. He won't believe it. He'll think it's a trick. Then make him believe it, Leon said. He released the man, who scrambled back into the car and drove off. But Leon knew it wouldn't be enough. Volkov would test him. Others would too. The only way to truly keep Isabella safe was to do exactly what Vincent had suggested. Disappear so completely that coming after her would serve no purpose. He had to die. Leon Romano, the wolf, had to cease to exist. At dawn, Leon made a series of calls. He liquidated his assets, transferred money to accounts that couldn't be traced. He called Marcus and told him to dissolve the organization, to scatter their operations, to make it clear that Leon's empire was finished. Marcus protested, argued, insisted there were other ways. But Leon was firm. By noon, it was done. Leon Romano's criminal empire was dismantled as quickly as it had been built. The last call was the hardest. Isabella answered on the third ring. What do you want, Leon? I need to see you. One last time. Please. I told you. I know what you told me, Leon interrupted. But, Isabella, you're in danger. Because of me, because of what I did, there are people who will come after you. I need to make sure you're safe before I go. Go where? Away. Permanently. I'm leaving the city, Isabella. Leaving everything. But I need to see you first. To explain. To say goodbye. There was a long pause. Then, my apartment. 1 hour. Leon spent that hour arranging one final thing. He called a contact in witness protection, called in every favor he had, and secured a deal. Isabella would be protected. New identity, new city, new life. She'd hate giving up her youth center and her normal life, but she'd be safe. When he knocked on her door, she opened it immediately. She looked exhausted but beautiful, and Leon felt his heart break all over again. You look terrible, she said. I haven't slept. Neither have I. She stepped aside to let him in. What's this about, Leon? What danger? So he told her. About Vincent's call, about the Russians, about the dozen other organizations that would see her as a target, about how his revenge had inadvertently painted a target on her back. Isabella listened in silence, her face growing paler with each detail. So you see, Leon finished, I have to disappear. I'm dissolving my organization, abandoning my empire, leaving the city. I'll be presumed dead within a month. And once that happens, there's no reason for anyone to come after you. Except I'm still Vincent Moretti's daughter, Isabella said quietly. Your father is in prison. His organization is fractured. You've always been separate from his business. Once I'm gone, once the threat I represented is eliminated, you'll fade back into being just another civilian. And what about my life? My work? The kids at the center? I've arranged protection, Leon said. Just temporary, until things settle. Federal agents who owe me favors. They'll watch you, make sure no one tries anything. Isabella walked to her window, looking out at the city below. You've thought of everything. I've tried. Except asking me what I want. Leon went still. What do you mean? Isabella turned to face him. You've decided how this ends. You disappear. I stay here with federal protection. We both move on with our lives. Did it occur to you to ask if that's what I want? Isabella, This is the only way to keep you safe. Safe, she repeated bitterly. I'll be safe, but I'll be alone. I'll be looking over my shoulder for months, maybe years, wondering if someone from my father's world or yours is coming for me. I'll watch the kids at my center and wonder if I'm putting them in danger just by being near them. Is that the safety you're offering me? It's better than the alternative. Which is what? Staying with you? Going with you when you disappear? Leon had deliberately not suggested that option because he knew it was selfish. He knew asking her to give up everything to run away with him was asking too much. But looking at her now, seeing the hope and fear mixed in her expression, he realized she was asking him to ask. Come with me, Leon said, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. Leave this all behind. We'll go somewhere no one knows us, start over. You can work with kids there, I can. I can figure out who I am without the revenge. We'll be nobody together. Nobody together, Isabella repeated, and she was crying now. Is that enough? For you? After everything? You're enough, Leon said fiercely. You've always been enough. I was just too consumed by hatred to see it. Isabella crossed the room and took his hands in hers. I need you to promise me something. Anything. Promise me that if I come with you, you won't spend the rest of your life regretting giving up your revenge. That you won't resent me for being the reason you let my father win. He didn't win, Leon said. He's in prison. He'll die there. That's not winning. But you gave up your empire to keep me safe. You're letting go of 15 years of planning. That's a sacrifice, Leon. A huge one. I need to know you won't wake up in 5 years and realize you chose wrong. Leon pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. I already chose wrong once. I chose revenge over you. I'm not making that mistake again. Are you sure? And that was the question, wasn't it? Was he sure? Could he truly let go of the hatred that had defined him for so long? Could he build a life based on love instead of vengeance? He thought about his family, about what they'd want for him. He thought about the boy he'd been, dancing in the kitchen with his sister, before violence and loss had turned him into something cold. He thought about who he could become, with Isabella beside him. Yes, Leon said. I'm sure. Isabella kissed him, and it felt like both an ending and a beginning. When she pulled back, she was smiling through her tears. Then we'd better start packing, she said. How long do we have? The sooner we leave, the better. Tonight, if possible. Isabella looked around her apartment, at the life she'd built, and Leon could see the cost of what he was asking. She was giving up everything too. Her home, her work, her identity. All because she loved him. Isabella, he said, if this is too much. It's too much, she agreed. It's terrifying and unfair, and I hate that we have to do this. But the alternative is worse. The alternative is losing you. And I've discovered I'm not strong enough for that. She started pulling suitcases from her closet, packing with quick efficiency. Where are we going? I have a place in mind. Small town in Montana. Middle of nowhere. I bought a property there years ago under a false name. Insurance in case I ever needed to disappear. There's a house, some land. It's isolated but beautiful. Montana, Isabella repeated, laughing a little. From the city to the middle of nowhere. That's quite a change. If you want somewhere else. No, Isabella said. Montana is fine. Anywhere is fine, as long as we're together. They packed through the afternoon. Isabella left a note for her supervisor at the youth center, a vague excuse about a family emergency. She called her father in prison, keeping the conversation brief, telling him she loved him but needed to be away for a while. Leon watched her say goodbye to her life, and the weight of responsibility settled on him. He'd done this. His choices, his revenge, his inability to let go of the past, it had all led to this moment where two people had to abandon everything. The house in Montana was exactly as Leon remembered it. A 2-story cabin on 40 acres of land, surrounded by pine trees and mountains. The nearest town was 20 miles away, population barely 500. It was perfect. They arrived in the early morning, exhausted from driving through the night. Isabella stood on the porch, looking out at the vast wilderness, and Leon couldn't read her expression. "It's so quiet," she said finally. "Too quiet." "No." She turned to him, and she was smiling. "It's perfect. I can't hear sirens or traffic or people yelling. Just birds and wind. When was the last time I heard just birds and wind?" They spent the first week just settling in. The house had been maintained by a property management company, so it was clean and functional, but it needed personal touches. Isabella threw herself into making it a home, hanging curtains, arranging furniture, planting flowers in the garden. Leon watched her transform the empty space and realized she was doing the same thing to him. Slowly, carefully, she was helping him transform from the cold, violent man he'd been into someone capable of warmth and peace. It wasn't easy. There were nights when Leon woke from nightmares, the smell of smoke in his nostrils, his family's screams echoing in his mind. Isabella would hold him, whispering reassurances, reminding him that he was safe, that they were both safe. There were days when Isabella cried for the life she'd left behind, for the kids at the center who she'd never see again, for the identity she'd lost. Leon held her then, letting her grieve, understanding that this new life had a cost even as it offered hope. But slowly, day by day, they began to heal. Leon found work doing carpentry for local contractors. It was honest work, simple work, and he discovered he enjoyed the straightforward nature of it. You built something with your hands, and at the end of the day, you could see what you'd accomplished. No manipulation, no violence, just creation. Isabella volunteered at the local library, helping with children's reading programs. It wasn't the same as the youth center, but she found purpose in it. The kids here needed her too, just in different ways. They made friends, slowly and carefully. Tom and Sarah, the couple who owned the general store. Pastor Michael, who ran the small church in town and never asked too many questions about their past. Elderly Mrs. Henderson, who taught Isabella to bake proper bread and seemed to adopt them both. Leon became Leo Gray, a quiet man with a mysterious past that people respected enough not to pry into. Isabella was Ella Gray, his wife, warm and kind and always ready to help. They built a life. Small, quiet, but real. 6 months after they arrived, Leon found Isabella standing in the garden, one hand on her stomach, tears streaming down her face. "What's wrong?" he asked, immediately alert for threats. "Nothing's wrong," she said, and she was smiling through the tears. "I'm pregnant." Leon felt the world tilt. A child. They were going to have a child. A life they'd created together, innocent and pure, with no connection to the violence and hatred of their past. "Are you happy?" Isabella asked, suddenly uncertain. Leon pulled her into his arms, and he was surprised to find his own eyes wet. "I'm terrified," he admitted, "and happier than I've ever been." That night, lying in bed with Isabella asleep beside him, one hand protectively over their unborn child, Leon thought about his family, about the life that had been taken from him. He couldn't bring them back. He couldn't change the past. But he could honor their memory by building something good. By being the father his own father had tried to be. By creating the kind of home his mother had made. By showing this child the joy his sister had shown him. Revenge hadn't brought him peace. But love might. Underscore 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 underscore. They had 8 perfect months. 8 months of quiet mornings and peaceful evenings. Of Isabella's belly growing round with their child. of painting a nursery yellow because they wanted to be surprised by the gender, of preparing for a future neither of them had dared to dream possible. And then Marcus found them. Leon was in town, picking up supplies, when he saw the familiar figure standing by his truck. Older, greyer, but unmistakably Marcus. His former second-in-command, the man who'd helped him build an empire. "You're a hard man to find, boss," Marcus said. Leon's hand instinctively moved toward where he used to carry a gun. But he'd left that life behind. He was unarmed, unprepared. "I'm not your boss anymore," Leon said. "Maybe not. But we still have a problem." Leon's blood ran cold. What kind of problem? The kind where Vincent Moretti isn't as secure in prison as we thought. The kind where he's been reaching out to old contacts, making arrangements. The kind where he knows exactly where you are. "That's impossible. We've been careful." "You were careful," Marcus agreed. "But Ella had a medical appointment last month, didn't she? For the baby. She used her real name on the insurance paperwork. Just once. That's all it took." Leon felt like he'd been punched in the gut. One mistake. One moment of carelessness, and their entire new life was compromised. "Why are you here, Marcus?" "Because despite everything, I still owe you. And because what's about to happen, you need to be prepared for it." Marcus handed him a folder. "Vincent's being transferred to a federal facility next week. During the transfer, there's going to be an incident. He's arranged for an escape." "That's impossible. Federal custody doesn't just." "He's got people everywhere," Marcus interrupted. "People we didn't know about. People who stayed hidden while we were taking down his obvious operations. They've been planning this for months. And the first thing he's going to do when he's free is come for you. And for her." Leon opened the folder. Photographs of Isabella around town, going to the library, shopping at the store. Someone had been watching them, documenting their life. "He wants you to know he's coming," Marcus said. "That's why he let this information leak. He wants you afraid. Wants you to run again. But boss, there's nowhere to run this time. He's got resources you can't imagine, and he's got nothing left to lose." "Then I'll go to the authorities. Tell them about the escape plan." "Already tried," Marcus said. "They think it's misinformation. Vincent's too high profile, they say. Too secure. They won't take the threat seriously until it's too late." Leon's mind raced. "Then I take Isabella and we disappear again. Canada, Mexico, somewhere. With a baby due in a month? She can't travel like that. And Vincent knows it. That's why he's moving now. He's got you trapped." Marcus put a hand on Leon's shoulder. "I'm sorry, boss. But I think you know there's only one solution here." Leon did know. He'd known from the moment he saw Marcus standing by his truck. "I have to go back," Leon said quietly. "You have to end this," Marcus corrected. "Vincent comes out. You have to be waiting. You have to finish what you started, but this time, finish it permanently." "I left that life behind." "That life never left you," Marcus said, not unkindly. "You can change your name, move to the middle of nowhere, build a new life. But the sins of the old one, they follow you. You know that." Leon looked toward the mountains, toward the cabin where Isabella was probably reading baby books and dreaming of their future. A future that was about to be torn apart. "I need time to think." "You've got 3 days before the transfer," Marcus said. "After that, all hell breaks loose." He handed Leon a phone. "Burner. My number's programmed in. When you're ready, call me. I've got men who stayed loyal. We can help." "Why would you help?" "I disbanded the organization. I left you all to fend for yourselves." Marcus smiled sadly. "Because you saved my life once, a long time ago. And because some of us understood why you left. We are not all monsters, boss. Some of us are just men trying to survive." He headed toward his car, then paused. For what it's worth, I think you made the right choice. Leaving, finding love, building something good. I hope you get to keep it. Leon drove home in a daze. He found Isabella in the nursery, hanging tiny clothes in the closet. She looked so happy, so at peace, that Leon almost couldn't bring himself to shatter that peace. But he had to. We need to talk, he said. Isabella saw his face and immediately came to him. What's wrong? So he told her. About Marcus, about Vincent's planned escape, about the photographs, about the choice he was facing. Isabella listened in silence, and Leon watched the happiness drain from her face, replaced by fear and determination. We'll leave, she said when he finished. Right now. Pack what we can carry and go. You're 8 months pregnant. We can't. Then we'll contact the FBI, the marshals, someone who can protect us. Marcus already tried. They don't believe Vincent can escape federal custody. Then what? Isabella's voice rose. What are you saying, Leon? Leon took her hands. I'm saying I have to go back. I have to finish this. No. Isabella jerked away from him. No, you promised. You promised you were done with that life. You chose me. You chose us. She put her hands protectively over her belly. You chose our baby. I did choose you. I do choose you. But Isabella, if I don't stop him, he'll come here. He'll find us. He'll destroy everything we've built, and he won't care if you're pregnant or if there's a baby or if we are innocent. He'll take it all away, just like he took my family away. So you're going to become him again? The wolf? The killer? I'm going to protect my family, Leon said firmly. That's what I'm going to do. The way my father couldn't protect us. I won't let history repeat itself. Isabella was crying now, hard, painful sobs. If you go back, you might not come back. You could be killed. Arrested. And then what? I raise our child alone, always wondering if you're alive or dead. Then come with me, Leon said desperately. We'll go to the city together. You'll be somewhere safe while I handle Vincent. When it's over, we'll come back here. It's never over. Isabella shouted. That's what you don't understand. If you kill Vincent, his people will come for revenge. If you don't kill him, he'll keep coming. Violence doesn't end, Leon. It just continues in cycles, generation after generation, until everyone is destroyed. Then what do you want me to do? Leon demanded. Let him come here. Wait for him to burn down our home with you and our baby inside, the way he did to my family? I can't do that. I won't. I want you to find another way. Isabella was sobbing now. I want you to be the man who chose love over revenge, who walked away from violence, who promised me we'd build a life together based on something better than blood. I am that man, Leon said, and he was crying too now. But I'm also a man who won't let the people he loves die to prove a point about peace. There has to be a balance, Isabella, between the ideal and the reality. And the reality is that Vincent Moretti is a monster who will keep coming unless someone stops him. Isabella sank into the rocking chair they'd bought for the nursery. I knew it, she whispered. I knew it was too good to be true. 8 months of happiness. That's all we get before the past drags us back. Leon knelt in front of her, taking her hands. Listen to me. I will do everything in my power to come back to you. I will be smart, careful, and I will not take unnecessary risks. But I can't let him hurt you. I can't let him take away another family. Do you understand? Isabella looked at him with eyes full of pain and love and resignation. I understand that you're going to do what you think is right, regardless of what I say. Just like you did before. That's not fair. None of this is fair, Isabella said, echoing her words from months ago. But it's the truth. She stood, her hands on her belly. If you're going to do this, then do it right. Don't go in angry. Don't go in seeking revenge. Go in trying to protect. There's a difference. I know. And Leon, if you don't come back, if something happens to you, I want you to know that these last 8 months have been the happiest of my life. You gave me something I never thought I'd have. Something real and good. Our baby will know who you really are, not the wolf, but the man who chose love. Leon pulled her into his arms, holding her and their unborn child close. I'm coming back, he promised. I'm coming back to you both. But as he held her, Leon wondered if it was a promise he could keep. 3 days later, Leon stood in the shadows of a parking garage in the city he'd left behind 8 months ago. Marcus was beside him, along with 3 other men Leon recognized from his old organization. The transport leaves the courthouse at 3 p.m., Marcus said, checking his watch. Vincent's people are going to hit it at the junction near the old warehouse district. Lots of abandoned buildings, minimal traffic, easy to disappear. How many men does he have? At least 12. Probably more. They've been planning this for months, boss. It's going to be a war zone. Leon checked the weapon Marcus had given him. It felt foreign in his hands after months of holding nothing more dangerous than a hammer. But the muscle memory was still there, the cold efficiency of violence still lurking beneath the surface of the man he'd tried to become. The plan is simple, Marcus continued. We intercept before Vincent's people can complete the extraction. Take him down. Make sure he can't threaten you or Ella again. Killing a federal prisoner during an escape attempt, one of the other men said. That's a death sentence if we are caught. We are not going to be caught, Leon said, because we are going to make it look like Vincent's own people turned on him. Criminals killing criminals. The FBI will close the case and move on. It was a good plan. Clean, simple, effective. Everything Leon had learned about strategic violence distilled into one operation. But as 3 p.m. approached, Leon felt something he hadn't expected: doubt. Isabella's words echoed in his mind. Violence doesn't end. It just continues in cycles. Was she right? Was he about to perpetuate the exact cycle that had destroyed his family? Would his child grow up knowing their father was a killer, just as Isabella had grown up knowing her father was a monster? Boss. Marcus was watching him. You having second thoughts?
No, Leon, leave.
Let's move. They positioned themselves on a rooftop overlooking the junction. Below, traffic moved normally, civilians going about their lives, completely unaware of the violence about to erupt around them. At 3:07 p.m., the prison transport appeared. 2 armored vehicles, lights flashing, federal marshals visible through the windows. At 3:09 p.m., a delivery truck ran a red light and T-boned the lead vehicle. Chaos erupted. Armed men poured from surrounding buildings. Gunfire shattered the afternoon calm. The marshals returned fire, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Civilians screamed and ran for cover. That's our window, Marcus said. Let's go. They moved quickly down the fire escape, entering the fray from an unexpected angle. Leon's muscle memory took over, his body moving with the efficiency of someone who'd done this countless times before. He saw Vincent being pulled from the damaged transport vehicle. The crime boss looked older, thinner from his time in custody, but his eyes were as cold and calculating as ever. Their eyes met across the chaos, and Vincent smiled. Romano, he shouted over the gunfire. I knew you'd come. Leon raised his weapon, but Vincent's men moved to shield him. Bullets chipped the concrete near Leon's head, and he ducked behind a car. This was it. The moment he'd been building toward. He could end this, kill Vincent, protect his family. All he had to do was pull the trigger. But then he saw something that stopped him cold. A young woman, maybe 22, was caught in the crossfire. She'd been walking to her car when the violence erupted, and now she was pinned down, screaming in terror. One of Vincent's men was using her as cover, firing from behind her position. Leon saw himself at 12 years old, watching his home burn, civilians standing helplessly by while Vincent orchestrated his family's murder. He saw the cycle Isabella had warned him about. Violence breeding violence, innocent people caught in the crossfire, over and over again. He made a choice. Instead of going after Vincent, Leon went for the girl. He took down Vincent's man with a precise shot, grabbed the young woman, and pulled her to safety behind a concrete barrier. "Stay down," he commanded. "When I say run, you run for that building and don't look back." The girl nodded, too terrified to speak. Leon looked back toward Vincent and saw that Marcus had engaged the crime boss's men. The FBI was arriving, sirens wailing. The window of opportunity was closing. Leon could still do it, could still kill Vincent, but it would mean staying in the fight, and staying in the fight meant more innocent people at risk. He thought about Isabella, about their baby, about the man he'd promised to be. "Now," he told the girl, "run." She ran, and Leon provided covering fire, making sure she made it to safety. Then he signaled to Marcus. "We are pulling out," Leon shouted over the chaos. "What?" "Boss, Vincent is right there. And the FBI is here. If we stay, we go down with him. Pull out now." Marcus hesitated for only a second before nodding. They retreated, melting into the chaos as federal agents swarmed the scene. From a safe distance, Leon watched as Vincent was recaptured. The escape had failed. Vincent's remaining men were either dead, wounded, or in custody. The crime boss was going back to prison, this time to a maximum security facility where escape would be impossible. "You let him live," Marcus said, not quite a question. "The FBI has him," Leon replied. "He's going to spend the rest of his life in a cell. That's enough." "Is it? After everything he did to your family?" Leon thought about the question. Was it enough? Vincent Moretti would live out his days in prison, probably another 20 or 30 years, while Leon's family had been given no years at all. But Leon's family had also never wanted him to become a killer. They'd wanted him to live, to be happy, to build something good. "Yes," Leon said finally. "It's enough." Leon returned to Montana that night. He drove through the darkness, exhausted but somehow lighter than when he'd left. He'd faced his greatest enemy and chosen not to kill him. He'd broken the cycle, at least for himself. He pulled up to the cabin as dawn was breaking over the mountains. The lights were on inside, and through the window, he could see Isabella pacing, one hand on her belly, clearly worried sick. She saw his truck and ran outside, despite being 8 months pregnant and despite the cold morning air. Leon barely had the door open before she was there, checking him for injuries, crying and yelling at him all at once. "You're alive. Oh God, you're alive. I've been watching the news. They said there was a shootout, multiple casualties. I thought. "I'm okay," Leon said, pulling her close. "I'm okay, and I'm home." "Did you?" Isabella couldn't finish the question. "No," Leon said. "Vincent was recaptured by the FBI. He's going back to prison. Maximum security this time. He won't be escaping again." Isabella pulled back to look at him, searching his face. "But you went there to kill him." "I went there to protect you," Leon corrected. "And I did. The threat is neutralized. We are safe. But I didn't have to become a murderer to do it." Isabella started crying again, but these were tears of relief. "I was so scared. Not just that you'd be hurt, but that you'd come back different. That you'd go back to being the wolf and I'd lose the man I fell in love with." "You haven't lost him," Leon said, leading her back into the warm house. "He's changed, but he's still here. And he's ready to be a father." They sat together on the couch, Leon's hand on Isabella's belly, feeling their child moving inside her. "I realized something today," Leon said. "When I was in that firefight, I saw a young woman caught in the crossfire. And I had a choice. Go after Vincent, or save her. I chose to save her." Of course you did, Isabella said. Because that's who you really are. Not a killer. A protector. Maybe, Leon said. But I also realized that my family, they wouldn't want revenge. They'd want me to live. To be happy. To honor their memory by being someone they'd be proud of. And I can't be that person if I'm building my life on violence and hatred. Isabella squeezed his hand. So what now? Now we live, Leon said simply. We raise our child. I keep building furniture and you keep reading to kids at the library. We make friends and have neighbors and go to church on Sundays. We are normal. Boring. Happy. Sounds perfect, Isabella said, and she meant it. 1 week later, Isabella went into labor. It was 3 a.m, and they had to drive 20 miles to the nearest hospital. Leon broke every speed limit, his hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel, while Isabella breathed through contractions and laughed at how terrified he looked. You faced down armed criminals, she teased between contractions. But your wife in labor has you panicking. This is different, Leon said. I can't protect you from this. I can't fix it or fight it. I'm useless. You're not useless, Isabella said, squeezing his hand as another contraction hit. You're here. That's all I need. 14 hours later, Leon Romano held his daughter for the first time. She was tiny, wrinkled, perfect. She had Isabella's eyes and his dark hair. And when she wrapped her impossibly small hand around his finger, Leon felt something inside him break and heal simultaneously. She's beautiful, he whispered. She's ours, Isabella corrected, smiling despite her exhaustion. What should we name her? Leon looked at his daughter, this perfect innocent being who represented everything good in his life. This child who would never know violence or hatred or revenge. This symbol of hope and new beginnings. Sophia, he said. After my sister. If that's okay. Isabella's eyes filled with tears. It's perfect. Baby Sophia made a small sound, and both parents laughed at the miracle of it. This was their family now. This was what they'd chosen. Not empires built on fear or revenge fueled by hatred, but love. Simple, complicated, messy, beautiful love. So what would you have done? Leon Romano chose love.